What's up, everyone? We're here. We're live. It is the Basement After Dark, where, as I like to say, the thoughts are big and the bladders are small. For those who know me, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe it's like a bladder thing. But once I start drinking, man, I feel like I'm like pissing every like 20 minutes. So I should get that checked out. Here's John. John used to have this time slot. This used to be the time that John would hang around and walk around his block and do the whole thing. That's exactly what it is, Trevor. It's hoop TP time. It's the whole thing. I got one more PBR to drink and then it's hoopty time. We're gonna be good. Hey, Z Mick, good to see you, see your name, all the stuff. Catherine, Catherine, I think I might have brought this up earlier when it might have been like Friday or something like that. But all these vinyl tag videos are going around, and I feel like yours has picked up a lot of steam. Aren't you up at like 1,200 views, or I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating that. It's like 1,000 or some views or something on your vinyl tag. That's awesome. Yeah, Racer knows. I don't know, Racer. You're, yeah, you know about that. All right, John. What are you trying to say here? Yeah. One day it'll happen. Yeah. Hey, if anybody wants to jump on, let me know. This is the Basement After Dark here. There are no rules, only fun. There might be rules. Depends. I reserve the right to tell anybody that they can't be here. Mostly it's like if I don't know you. Heck yeah, Catherine. Rocking, killing the game. I love that. Well, and that's like the whole point of the tag thing, right? Like I know there are people who are seemingly like, I don't want to say overly critical. Like I get it. I'm sure if you're somebody who's been doing this for years, the whole tag thing probably seems like a lot. But I mean, I started my channel in October or something like that. Like I've been introduced to so many people. I think of Catherine came across your channel because of the tag. Racer Joe, I came across your channel because of the tag. I created my own tag, the Prague tag, which has introduced me to other channels, and so it's like I love that. I'm all in on, not to get all like mushy gushy on it, but it's like for me, this whole thing was all about just finding the community, right? Like finding people that are into similar stuff, finding people that are into music the same way, all the stuff. All right, cool. Let me shoot you this here, Joe. Come on up, Joe. You're always invited, my man. Well, you're right, Steve. You should have given me a warning. And here's the other thing. I love Tommy Bolin. Well, love is a strong word. I do love Tommy Bolin. I do not have that Zephyr album. There's Joe. Steve, I don't have the Zephyr album, but I need it. I don't have his second solo record. I have Teaser, I think. I don't have his second one. And I know it's not your jam because it is a fusion record, but Spectrum is one of my favorite fusion records ever. And obviously I have Come Taste the Band. And then is he on? Shoot. Remind me what James Gang record he's on. I might have it. See, what is it? I just would forget. It's not Thirds or Straight Shooter. Let me know, Steve. I forget what James Gang record he's on. I apologize. I'm terrible. Just not a good friend. Joe, how are you, brother?
I'm good, and you?
Hanging in there, man. It's Wednesday.
Excellent. Hi, John. I saw that.
I do have Miami. He's on Miami. I do have Miami. I need to give that another listen if it's got Tommy on there. Catherine's in there. Oh, we started at the same time. Yeah, and it's like, Racer, I don't know for you, I know you're a new channel too, like how many years you sat in waiting, right? Like this idea of I've been watching these videos, I would love to be involved in this, and then you pull the metaphorical trigger or whatever. So
you know what? The thing is, I used to watch a lot of late night TV, but back in the good days when it was Letterman and when it was Craig Ferguson, I used to watch a lot of that. My wife goes to bed early, like 9 o'clock every night. I'm a night owl for the most part. And so I don't really have, and I guess I haven't had Letterman and Craig Ferguson for a while now, but I just got tired of watching television, for lack of the proper term, and I stumbled across a couple of things. And I think, like most of us, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I started watching Dylan's channel. And once you start watching, you just keep watching. What's next? What did he find next? Things like that. And really, it's only been in about, I don't know, the last 6 months or so that I've kind of watched. And, as somebody said, I can't see where they are, but Melinda's out there. There's the big ones, I guess. We're all trying to strive to kind of get to the big ones, or not. I don't know. But so it just all started with that. But I think I was watching videos one day and went, yeah, you know what? I like doing that kind of stuff. So away we go.
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Oh, there it is. Okay. Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Private Eyes, all in. And then, Ben, Steve, like you said, Steve, this would be a question for you. Do you have the Bang album, right? Isn't there like kind of like an old school early 70s, like hard rock album from the band Bang? That is like kind of one of those like, hard rock early 70s grails to find like an original press of or whatever, but I don't know if they've ever done like a reissue of it, but I feel like they'd be right up your alley. Now, you're right, Cardboard Head Guy. Isn't some of that live though? I might be totally wrong. Isn't one of the discs in Wheels of Fire live? Not to say that that's not a great record. We were just specifically talking about double albums that are full studio. It's funny, Dan, that is to me the channel, which is funny because it's not quote unquote the VC. I mean, but it is. Like, Sea of Tranquility for me changed the game. Like, when I started watching Pete's stuff, and obviously he blew up during COVID, he changed the game, and I still to this day watch every single one of his videos.
Yeah, it's good stuff as well. That's the thing. It's all entertaining. And I think we're all looking for that band that we don't know of. And, we start to realize that there's people that we start to admire the things that we listen to. And then all of a sudden, if they suggest something, so always open to suggestions. And that's a big part of it. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you want to see I had pulled a couple out. I know you always asked me to come on. And so I was late coming around to watch you guys, and I thought you might ask me to come on, but that's Glenn's deal and Glenn's show, so that's cool. But I did. Oh yeah, no, not at all. No, I understand.
Slow your roll. Stay in your lane, Joe.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah.
Come on, racer.
When I was racing, I would take both lanes, right? Because then they can't get around you. You got to stay in both lanes. Mm-hmm. But what I did is I had pulled out quickly. I pulled out 3 because you guys are talking about 3 different doubles. So I pulled out 3. Yep. So I still have them. So let's talk about them quick. Okay.
Let's talk about them. Yeah. Double records.
Just because I got them out still. Quick before though, God, I ramble, eh? I go off in tangents. I'm a squirrel all the way.
But that's why people love you.
Yeah, I guess. Except for one dude. That was my first. I got my first negative comment. Why don't you just shut up and get to the point? I typed out this long, pretty smart ass, and I thought pretty good reply. I sent it out and then I deleted it. But it's going to come up still. Anyway, squirrel. You talked about the note, the divorce note.
Oh yeah.
I buy a lot of used stuff. Sometimes, it's in bulk or whatever. And there's been money in stuff, and there's been a few other things. But one of my favorites was on a sleeve. It was "For Good Weed, Call," and there was a number. I didn't call it because I didn't need it, but he had his dealer on, and I can't remember. I'm almost positive, and this could be bullshit, but it was a Bob Marley record. It had to be, right?
Had to be. Yeah. Or it was it's not a great record. The later Jefferson Airplane record. Is it Long John Silver, whatever?
Sure, yeah.
Whatever it is that has the whole stash box as part of like the big, yeah.
That's all part of it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's the doubles I'd pulled out. And you talked about this one because this was one that I grabbed instantaneously. Good stuff. Glenn said he's not into them, but there's some prints that I could take or leave. I always understand the genius of it. But man, there was like 4 or 5 in a row that were just, chef's kiss, unbelievable.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then when you had that, I thought, well, okay, well, I got to replace that. So then I went and grabbed Division Bell because I knew where it was, upside down. There you go. So I don't know
Yep.
if you guys showed that one or not, but
No. Well, it got mentioned in the comment. Is that an original?
it's not. No, it's a reissue. So yeah.
No,
It's a
which
reissue.
yeah, it's less about because when we were talking of like when some of those records came out in 90, because I think it's what 94, 93.
Yeah.
It's like when some of those came out, they were made for like the CD, so it's like CD length. It's probably
Yes.
70 minutes, but I don't, but sometimes those were put on of like,
Yeah. I'm pretty sure though.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this was always meant to be. Hey, Rob. I'm
Hey,
pretty
go.
sure this was always meant to be like. There's enough songs I think to be a double, but I know as a perfect example, I think Hysteria was like 70 minutes long and so compressed on the original. And it's a double now, but it was never intended to be.
Yep, 63 minutes was Hysteria.
Yeah, exactly. Two more. Ooh. This one surprises people that know me to a certain extent, but this album came out and I fell in love with Lady Gaga. This album especially, it's so good. A Million Reasons and everything else, and it's a very heartfelt album. It's really good. Obviously, Ronson helps with the production and things like that, so it's good. I think for those that know me, for the most part, it may be a bit of a surprise, but I really, really like this album. And again, I'm pretty sure it's double length, song wise, double length. So
absolutely. What year did that come out, Joe?
That would have been at least 3 ago, maybe
I was
4.
Gonna say, what are the mega hits on that? Because everybody talks about what Chromatica or whatever is the big one.
Yeah, that, and then I was also going to pull out the Fame as well, which had a lot of hits. But this was 2000. This was just right before A Star Is Born. There was this, and then I think A Star Is Born, I believe, was after it. So,
yeah.
And then the last one, and you guys, someone must have brought this one out, right?
Yeah, Jason brought up London Calling.
Yeah. So there you go. Jason participated, really?
No, no, he sure did.
I mean,
no, he was great.
That's a double right there that you got to have. You got to have the Clash. So that's the ones that I pulled out.
I'm still on my hunt for an original London Calling. That's like one of my holdouts that I know I could buy a reissue, and I don't. It's probably just me being me of like, oh, I want to hold out for an original, blah blah. But
yeah, but you got to have an original, and it's got to be a little beat up, because if it's not a little beat up, it's not a Clash album, because it would have been at every party, and yeah, you got to have slightly beat up, but still playable and still sounds good Clash.
Yeah, Carly, I kind of referenced a short bit of that story. I remember calling you immediately when I brought it home, but yeah, I still have that album, and it's just still I'm keeping the letter. It's very creepy and suspicious because, I mean, truthfully, and I'll put this out there now, like when I first started reading this letter, I thought it was a suicide note. Like, it was very dark, it started off with like, I can't take it anymore. I can't, like all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to get rid of this record. Like, if this is a freak, and then towards the end of it, it sort of seemed like it was a little bit more like Divorce. I'm like, oh, Divorce, I can do that shit, I know Divorce. And I'll just listen to Cherry Pie and go down to the strip club and I'm good to go. But
but why did it? Why? The story of how it got into it was Alan Parsons, right? The story of how it got into that record would be interesting.
So here's the part I left out. Sorry, I'll take you off the main screen there. Here's how, and this is where it got weird. So it was an Eye in the Sky, which, if you're not an Alan Parsons fan, Eye in the Sky was a huge commercial success because of the song Eye in the Sky. It later blew up big time in the 90s because it was the Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan intro song. So the whole like a bang, 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 a bang, 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 a bang, boom, dude, like that was Eye in the Sky. Like, who would have thought that was an Alan Parsons tune? But the whole note was talking about, and this one I thought I was really creeped out because it said, and it referenced something like, here sooner or later I will be nothing more than the eye in the sky, and you won't have to worry about me anymore.
Wow.
And so there is obviously some kind of meaning and connection between that album, that family, whatever was going on. That was just
so ridiculous. What you got to do is you got to use your newfound social media prowess, track down the woman that wrote it, track down the guy that was supposed to receive it, interview both of them. That would be a video, man.
That was the first thing I did. I was like, I have to investigatively report. Like, I have to figure these people out. Unfortunately, because I had a first or last name, it was a very generic. It was like Rob Johnson, right? Like it was like I couldn't figure it out. but I also think, and this is just purely judging by how it was written and the type of paper it was written in, that if that record came out in was that an 81-ish record? If it was like late 70s, early 80s, it doesn't but I feel like the letter was written at the time of the album. Because
so what you got to do is you got to befriend someone on the local police department. And then you got to take that letter and get it forensically tested for DNA. And then you got to take that DNA profile and run it through Ancestry and see if you can find a match to the person or a relative of the person. We got some CSI shit
I just need to figure out what happened, because here's the other part. There are so many different ways my thoughts are going. Here's the other thing. It was tucked in this record. We don't know if that letter was ever delivered.
Right? Sure. Maybe
and of course,
thought he's going to listen to this at some point. I'm just going to slip it in there. And maybe
probably you. The letter was written about you, Joe.
No. No.
And then you fled to Saskatoon and Regina.
No, I was in Saskatoon. I would have fled from Saskatoon, but you're getting closer.
Joe, I thought of you earlier in a non-creepy way. There was a band that's coming here. Think of, quote unquote famous, I think by smaller standards. Bands coming here to Columbus. They're from Regina. Newer-ish band, maybe over the past 15 years or so. I can't think of their name, but they're playing at like a decent sized club.
The Dead South.
I'm not making shit up. I know it's some kind of band, but I wouldn't be able to remember who they were unless I looked it up.
Okay, Mike, could be Dead South. They're out they got a big tour going on. So and they're from here. So
okay, yeah, for sure. Dan, sorry, delay on your question. I love the live stuff on Umaguma, whatever. Especially because there's not a whole lot of live anything Pink Floyd from that era. We need, that's why I think when they did live, the Dark Side of the Moon live, last year was big because there's people have been begging for some kind of live stuff in the era. And live at Pompeii was huge, but it is hard to find live at Pompeii anywhere. But I like the model of each of them doing something solo on the other one. And it's weird. It's quirky. It's all over the place. I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah. There's a whole story here. You're right with this whole thing. Dan, I appreciate that. I don't know I'm sorry, James. I'll watch my language on Glenn's channel, but this is the After Dark, right? This is I
think you can drop as many F-bombs as you want.
We'll be okay. Yeah. Well,
no, but even on Glenn's stream, say what you want.
Yeah, this is the what I would say the super blue collar junior varsity fat man's unsexual version of Skinamax. So it's this is the late night when the things are oh wow, you can watch the softcore on whatever after 1 a.m. You're not going to get any of that here, but yeah, I do appreciate that.
So this is the No Penetration. Then is that? Am I reading that correctly or what?
I have to get to that point. I got to scroll down. I got to get to that point. Dan, I love the Alabama Shakes. Those two records they did, Sound and Color, and I forget the other one. I have both of them. I love those, and I love Brittany Howard. I think she's amazing.
My wife's got the first one. It's pretty good.
I don't know, Carl. There's so many questions I still have. Might get that out today just to one of a kind edition. All that stuff I was on there. I respect and appreciate it for what it is. It's just weird.
Do this, Alex. Post the letter on your Instagram and do a video where you read it and just put it out to the viewers. Does anyone know who wrote this?
It's I'll do a poetic.
Leave the name out of it, but just and see if anyone gets in touch with you.
Yeah. Help me find this story because I need to find out this story. And you'd probably get there the way that it's been lately. Things you probably
might take off, man. You might go viral and you could hit 1 million subs before MGK Boston does.
Well, that's a tall task. Steve, gosh, Joe, you got a couple of different tags going on right now. You got some Kiss stuff, some AC/DC.
Yeah, Rob, I watched yours and I replied the 10 album challenge, the one that
Frank Landry,
Yeah, Channel 33. Frank did, and then and I watched the wedding one too. And the wedding, they were both good. Yeah, they were both
Nice.
good. I got too much. Okay, so for the crowd that's here, guys on camera and folks off camera, how many videos is too many videos? Are there too many videos? Because I got one coming up every day this week, just because I have the time.
Do it.
Right? Yeah.
Here's what I would say, Joe, on that. There's no such thing. I don't think there's no such thing as too many videos. If there is not a reasonable expectation that people are going to watch every single video.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, because I think that's the problem that people run into is like, I think they think of like, oh, if I release, everybody watches my videos and they're really supportive. Therefore, if I just release a video every day, then that will continue to build momentum. But I think there's definitely a trend of like, if people release a video every day or whatever, every other day, whatever it is, that it's amazing and the content is out there. And I think the YouTube algorithms appreciate it. Like it shows that, you're out there. And also sometimes it's just like, oh shit, I can't watch all of Racer Joe's records or Racer Joe's videos.
Yeah.
There's two things to think about. The more that you put out, you're asking more of a time commitment of your audience. So not everyone's going to watch them all.
Yep.
And if you don't care about that, that's cool. I like making videos for the sake of making videos, and I very much appreciate that people watch them. Do I expect that they watch them? No, I'm not fucking Fox or fucking CBS or whatever. Sure. I'm just some moron in my basement. So, I don't look at it and go, well, if I put in more, it's going to dilute my viewing. Fuck that. My sort of, kind of internal metric is I'll make a video whenever I feel like I can make a video that has something of substance.
Yeah. And that's fair.
And if I have something to say, if I have something to show that I think even one person might appreciate and I enjoyed making it, then that's a good reason to put out a video. There are, and I hate to use this example because a very good friend of mine does a lot of these and I love him like a brother. But when you do these fucking videos that's like spell Christmas with records, I'm sorry, but that's just fucking stupid. Like there's just like, here's a letter, here's a record that starts with C. No shit. Like, I'm sorry, there are no effort videos, and it's just there's nothing of substance there, and there's nothing of quality. So why make the damn video?
Yeah, and you know what? I got a couple like that, arguably. It's just, it's getting something out there. I get shit in my head, and whether it's sitting here now or laying down waiting to go to sleep or driving around, I get shit in my head and I make it. And I don't expect a whole bunch of people to watch. There was a couple that, I was certainly hoping more people would watch. The Kiss one, the AC/DC one, right? But there's other stuff, like you just said, that I thought, well, you know what? I like the elements or something. I heard an Earth, Wind, and Fire song or whatever, so I put that out there. Some people have watched, some people have participated. What the hell? That's what we're here for. And yeah, if you don't want to watch, you're not going to watch.
Don't watch. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't anticipate that there's going to be thousands, right? So
I've made some videos that I knew nobody was going to watch, but I still wanted to make them because I was really passionate about what that particular video was going to be about. And I thought, you know what, if one or two other people watch it and like it, then great.
Yeah.
This is like the ultimate. I remember actually, Rob, I was having the same exact conversation yesterday with Jason and Sam about like, I know I'm very new to this. I'm still probably in the honeymoon phase, right, of the YouTube world, but like, I never want to get to a place where I start stressing out over like, oh, how many views is this going to be a hit? How many views am I going to get? Like, that was never the intent.
There are people that's their thing.
Right. Yeah. And I just don't want to be and great for, I mean, most of those people are probably far more popular and like, it's no judgment on them. I just never want to be that, that person. Like my thing has always been like, oh, like if I have a musical experience, I want to, we were talking about like, Sam and I were talking about concert reviews. Sam always posts concert reviews. And as I go to more, I'm going to do the same. And I fully recognize that there is not going to be a ton of my viewers, quote unquote, that appreciate me going to see Pat Metheny, who's a jazz guitarist. But there might be Pat Metheny fans out there who appreciate that somebody's doing a concert review over Pat Metheny. And also, it's like, I just want to talk about my experience. The same way that, Joe, like, it's like, who cares if like the tags don't catch on? Like, there's going to be those diehard Kiss and AC/DC fans who you're going to connect with. And ultimately, isn't that the point of this whole thing?
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure it is. And I mean, that's a great point. So I think the AC/DC one's been watched actually just shy of 666 times. And I'd like to kind of cut it off right at 666, just because, right? Just because. And one person has done it, but 666 have enjoyed it, watched it, hopefully enjoyed it, other than the one dude that told me to get to the point. Actually, I think that was on the Beatles. But anyway, so yeah, you know what? It's a blast. And I keep saying it. It's a way for me to get into my albums a little bit more because I have far too many, right? It's ridiculous. I have far too many. I got to find a way to enjoy them more than I already do and the ways that I enjoy them.
That is a fantastic point, and I love that. I sit here, my records are just over on the wall a few feet away from me, and I got like 700 records there. And I'm thinking, like I work all the time and I'm on the road for sales and I got a wife and a kid and, I'm busy. If I listened to 2 records a day, which is not realistic, it would still take me an entire year to listen to everything once. So there's stuff I haven't listened to in a year or so. But I still enjoy doing something with those records. So that's a great point that if you make a video, even if you don't listen to the record, you pull it out, you take it out, you read the liner notes, whatever, you still get to enjoy that you have that thing. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Catherine brings up a great question because I actually had a very similar question. I did my first concert review on Dirty Honey a month ago or so. And I, started the video with a clip of them playing live, and then I ended the clip with them playing live, and nothing happened. Rob, I know you have your nightmare story of playing 8 seconds of Bryan Adams in a short, and his whole team gave you
I have a strike, and one of my videos got taken down. Yep, for 5.5 seconds of a song.
Yeah,
but there's a bigger nightmare story. Friend of mine, Andrew, he has a channel called Press to Play. Fellow Canadian, he's from Toronto. He was one of the original vinyl guys from years. He did it for 15 years, had something like 20,000 subscribers, and he was at a Bryan Adams concert and with his phone recorded segments of a few songs and posted them on his YouTube channel when he got home that night. When he woke up in the morning, all 4 of those videos had received copyright strikes and were taken down immediately. And they closed his channel. He didn't even get the chance to respond to take them down.
Right?
They were taken down immediately, and he lost his channel while he was sleeping. So be very careful.
Jesus,
yeah. And I think Catherine, I mean, I'm probably the last person to take advice from, but I think any advice that I have is that what I've noticed, I think there's a lot of people who claim to know the rhymes and reasons of YouTube in all the ways, right? They think they know the algorithm. They think they know what's going to hit. And they think they know the copyright stuff. One of the funny things I read is like, because I was kind of like, Googling, I was like, how to post a live clip without getting a copyright claim. And what was funny was seeing all the people who were like, don't say that this art doesn't belong to you because you're just admitting that you are fully aware that what you're doing is wrong. And so I was like, oh yeah, because that's what people do is they'd be like, please know that this is not my art and this is only blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that doesn't do anything. I think a lot of it does depend also on like the artist, right? Like,
so I can actually answer that as someone who is the co-owner of rights to some music. My best friend is a musician and he's put out a couple albums, and he and I self-release those together on a label that we have together. And we have a company that manages his copyright. And it's funny because I did a video like in my first 3-4 months of YouTube, and I played a clip of his album and I got a copyright notice, which is funny because my YouTube account is registered under my Northern Revolution's email. So I got the thing and I appealed it. And I said in the appeal to YouTube, I am listed as one of the copyright owners of this material under my other email address, which is whatever. Suffice that's my point of reference. The way that it works is YouTube uses AI or some kind of recognition to pick out the audio, and it really depends on the copyright owner, the level of restriction they want to put on that. There are some artists, and a good example is Oasis. They are happy to let you play their music on YouTube. You won't get monetization for it.
Yeah.
You'll get what's called a copyright warning saying you're allowed to use this music, but your video will not receive monetization.
You're not going to make money.
And that's cool. There are other artists that you'll get a warning and you have to take it down. There are other artists that will give you a strike and it's automatically taken down by YouTube and you can't do anything about it. It really just depends on how that artist has chosen to have their material monitored and who monitors it.
Well,
so.
and we were talking about it, this artist before, but for the longest time, and maybe still today, even though he's gone, of like, for the longest time, you could not find on YouTube a cover of a Prince song. Like, it was impossible. Like, the lawyers were on it like that. Anybody who tried to do anything, like, it could be a Sam St. John in the corner playing an acoustic version of Purple Rain, and they would shut it down.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you could hold it. I mean, half the videos on YouTube about bands are full ass concerts.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, this is the whole concert. And I just think the point is like, who knows? Like, there's no rhyme or reason. I think
so all of my Fast Five, my little Fast Five thing, there's the clip of just the start of Kickstart My Heart, those kind of those 4 guitars. And each one says copyright, but it does say the user has allowed, like, it's only those 4 bars of music. That's it. But it does say that the user has allowed this to be on YouTube. And I've got another one I did.
Just be careful. Just be careful though, Joe, because even if when you're uploading and it says there are no copyright issues, that's because YouTube hasn't found any. But if you're using a third-party service to monitor copyright, like we are for my buddy's music, and that was his choice, not mine.
Right.
They will go through later on. So it could be 2-3 weeks later that a third-party copyright management will detect it and ask YouTube to take action. So even though YouTube hasn't found anything, you could still be in violation and not know it, and then get strikes instantly, and you could lose your channel instantly. The only safe way to do music on YouTube where you're copyright compliant is if you record a short using the YouTube Creator Studio app. You can use 60 seconds of music from their music library. That is the only way that you're guaranteed to be safe.
Yeah. Like I said, it actually says, I'm just looking back on, and it does say under restrictions, it does say copyright, but it says copyright protected content found. The owner allows content to be used on YouTube. So like I said, that's it. So it knows that it's not that they're taking it down. Right. Although I did one, Is It Cold Enough for You? And over my shoulder, I don't know if you guys have watched or not, but there's a BBC show playing with polar bears. And if you'll notice, there's a part where I had to superimpose a picture over the polar bears, and it was only like 30 seconds. It's like it's a half an hour video of the polar bears, but there's 30 seconds that it caught. So I put a picture over that. And the third time it took to upload it, because I wanted to use it. Eventually, it took it, and I blocked out enough of it for now. Anyway, we'll see.
Here's what I don't get. You see these people that do these full-length movie reactions, where they'll watch an entire movie and they'll react to the whole movie.
Sure.
How do they get away with that?
And that's fair use.
So why isn't there fair use for music?
Well, because there is sometimes, because I could do a full reaction to like a song that's half of YouTube is people do. There are people who have like 1 million subscribers just for reaction videos.
I know.
Bless them. But a lot of those also get flagged and striked and all that kind of stuff too. But that falls under the fair use because it's for educational purposes. While me doing a concert review or whatever and having a video clip and just saying this was a great time might not necessarily fall under,
it's just such a weird thing, because I had, like I said, 5.5 seconds of Bryan Adams and I got a strike and the video got taken down, but people are going to react to an entire song. I don't get it.
Yeah. And that's Canadian. That is Canuck on Canuck violence. You
He's a
know,
wanker.
I
He's not a
understand him.
Canadian. He's an
I
asshole.
understand him coming after
No,
some
we don't
fat
know.
Yankee like me.
I'm sorry.
Not you.
Not a Canadian.
No,
No, you
no.
guys, he's somewhere else now. We
We-
take no
we-
ownership
Oh,
of
you
Brian
all
Adams.
have Brian
We
Adams.
kicked his ass out.
Yeah,
Well,
come
does he
on.
live in like England now?
He lives in London.
Yeah.
Okay.
He still owns a studio in Vancouver called The Warehouse. But because he turned his back on us, we say, fuck you, Brian.
Is he from Vancouver originally?
No, he's from Kingston, Ontario, which is 2.5 hours from me.
Yep.
The only bad music to come out of Kingston.
I actually like Brian Adams, but
Yeah,
I
you
hate
know
him
what?
as a
I do too.
person.
I'm just so sick of him. Like,
Yes.
just because. Yeah.
And
When-
his whole
because-
vegan
but
don't
I
eat
went and
meat
saw
horse
him
shit.
live,
Fuck you,
yeah.
Brian.
I do still laugh at to this day is the South Park movie and you know the bigger, larger, uncut, bigger, longer, uncut, whatever it was, and the whole reference of this isn't the first time that you know Canada has messed up, and the reporter snaps back and says, "Now, we apologize for Brian Adams many times. That doesn't count." Like, so, but I told you, Rob, and I don't know if I told you, Joe. Like, Brian Adams was one of the first shows I saw I was 15, and he was touring with Def Leppard, and they were doing minor league stadiums. And he and his band blew me away. I
love
that.
his music, but he's just such an asshole.
Yeah.
And
he was doing during COVID, he was saying some pretty racy shit too.
Well, that and his whole he's a militant vegan that anyone that eats meat, he looks down on you. And it's like, go suck a cabbage, fuckhead.
He's written a lot of good songs. So I'll give him that. He's written a lot of good songs, even some Kiss songs that until recently I was not aware of. But anyway, yeah, and again, I like his music. I went and saw him in concert. It was a great show. He played for like 2.5 hours. He put on a good show. I just no.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, you two Canadians talk amongst yourselves when the small bladder's hitting. I'll be right back.
Okay. So here's a question, Rob. I went and saw Roger Waters a couple years ago. I had not had the chance. Well, I'd had the chance. I just had never taken the chance to go see Roger Waters. Right. Now, there's an asshole, I think, safe to say.
I think so.
But I could not help myself. I had to go because it was the first, like not the first time I had the opportunity, but the first time I had the means, the time, everything else. So is it tough for you? Like, is there some bands that you would just begrudgingly go and see, knowing that you dislike them? It's a hard thing.
I mean, Brian Adams is the first example. I mean, and prior to him pissing me off on YouTube, the whole fact that, you know, he really turned his back on this country and you know, he's just an asshole. But I love his music, especially the earlier stuff. I mean, the last actual album was actually pretty good, but he had a run of shit in the middle. But
and overplay, right? I mean,
right.
I mean, if you could take maybe 5 or 6 songs and just completely pull them out, I would listen to Brian Adams more.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like that first album, the first album's very good. It's very power poppy, really good stuff. And again, the kid can write a song that I don't begrudge him that.
And some of the stupid power ballads, like "Please Forgive Me," whatever.
Yeah.
But
and everything I do, just all that. Just no, thank you.
Agreed.
Okay.
So there's many reasons I don't like him, but that I've seen him twice and he blew me away both times.
Yeah,
I'm glad I went. Another one. Again, I went to see them was the Eagles. I love the Eagles, but Don Henley and Glenn Frey are two of the biggest assholes in music, especially.
I heard you mention that earlier,
for a bunch of reasons. So, again, begrudgingly, I went and saw them because I really wanted to see the Eagles, even though I'm like, I got to give these jackasses more money.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
And another one, I would love to see Clapton, but I think he's a colossal dick.
Yeah. Yeah. I never did bother, and I don't think that I would bother. It's tough. And again, I knew going in that Roger Waters was Roger Waters, but I finally, like I said, it all came together. I could go, and I went. And then I took like a hot shower afterwards or something like that.
Yeah. Well, as John said in the comments over there, you have to separate the artist from the music, and you're like, it's just about the music, and you want the experience of hearing that music live, or you want to buy that music on vinyl or whatever because you like the music, even though you're like, oh man, I'm gonna put money in this person's pocket.
Well, I feel a little bit that way with Gene Simmons a lot. He's got a lot of my money, a lot. And I just went again, and I loved it. It was fantastic. It was the best Kiss show I'd seen of 7 times seeing them, it was the most Kiss that Kiss ever was. It had the most explosions and the most confetti and the most everything.
That
But yeah, it
is
was like, yeah,
that is one band. No offense, I have zero respect for,
sure, and that's
zero
fair.
interest in. I wouldn't listen to them if someone put a gun to my head.
And that's fair. Never
Ugh.
apologize for that, man. That's
Zero respect.
understandable.
I think they're a fucking clown show. Having said all of that, though, they have like a crazy fan base, obviously for a reason. It's clearly
Yeah.
something I don't understand. And you know what? Even though I think they're a goddamn joke, if you love them, that's awesome. And more power to you, right? Like, I don't expect people to like what I like, and I don't need to like what other people like. My personal, I think they're joke, but I love that people can love them that much. I think that's awesome.
Yep. Fair enough.
Do you know what a love gun is, Rob?
I know what a love gun is. Yes.
Okay. He says, I got kids. But no, it's so funny that you say that. Like, well, and going back, I think to y'all were talking. I think when I left, you were talking about Roger.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about musicians that we don't really like, but we kind of begrudgingly
Yeah.
support.
And I think Rob, you and I were talking about this of the whole like separate art from artist thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll be the first to admit, like, part of me is like, not to get political, but I'm like, it's my fucking show. I'll get political. It's not even political. Like is Ted Nugent like a fucking Nazi? Yeah.
Right.
1000%. Like,
Yep.
hate that guy. Like, yeah. And also, to my knowledge, I don't think he's ever killed anybody.
To
Which
your
we
knowledge.
cannot say the same about Phil Spector.
Correct.
True.
But like, we will make this decision of like, I'm not going to buy a Ted Nugent record. That guy fucking sucks. But we're also, but that, you know what I mean? And so everything's a spectrum, right? A spectrum of like, well, if we just buy a record that's produced by Phil Spector, that's different.
But it's
That's
not.
different than buying a Ted Nugent record, you know, that whole thing. So yeah.
There's a few like that. Here's another one I'll give you as an example. What about Gary Glitter? There's an example. And I don't know how much, like, Gary Glitter was my wheelhouse at the time, right? All the glam stuff. I loved all that.
Well, you're too old for him now, Joe.
Yeah, I know. That's right. I was too old for him a long time ago. But the guy's a piece of shit, but I love the music. So it's tough. And I don't know if acknowledging it makes it any better, but it's super tough because, yeah. And there's more than that. Nugent is an example, right?
Yeah.
I could listen to Wango's a Tango all the time, but then I have to, in my head, know, well, but this is Ted Nugent, right?
Well, talk about a live stream topic that would be way too serious for us to get away with, Rob. But it's perfect for the After Dark. Is that there's a great video. One of my favorite YouTube channels is Andy Edwards, British guy, big into progressive rock, jazz fusion, which I know are Rob's two favorite things. But he also he's a professor over there, he's a music professor, and he's drummed with a lot of different bands. He drummed with Robert Plant, like in his solo work. But he does, I think on Sundays, he calls it like Philosophy Sunday. And it's just like this type of stuff, like just a large, like, consider this. And it's talking about how, when we're looking at artists, how we measure their morality, essentially. And like, where do we draw the line, right? So like, Gary Glitter, pedophile, like, probably a good place to draw the line.
Okay.
Since
Go ahead.
you know, I got to
or,
do, Alex. You know, I got to do this since we're talking about it.
Yeah, I've got that album too. It's over there. It's right over there. I know where it is.
Kid Rock, pedophile. No,
Okay.
he'll find me. He would be the guy that would find me and be like, "Shut
Is the
down."
differentiator though? Here's the differentiator. Although we probably all knew Kid Rock was an asshole right from the start, but
He's a fucking
when I was
dirtbag.
listening to
And
Gary Glitter,
I feel dirty after I listen to him.
oh, I know. But when I first started listening to Gary Glitter, he was what he was at that time, but I didn't necessarily know that he was. So I don't know if that, it doesn't take me off the hook in any way, shape, or form. But and then there's no hook to be on. You know, I mean, but I think you know what I'm saying.
No, I mean, you make a great point, and you know, like, it's so weird. I would listen to Rock and Roll by Gary Glitter, because it's like what the sporting event, at least in the 90s.
Sure.
It was like,
yeah,
that was what Rock and Roll it's Rock and Roll part 1, right?
it is. Yeah. There is
Don't
part
forget,
1 and 2. Yeah.
I would listen to that and be like, this is great. And I'd be fine. In the back of my mind, I'd be like, this guy's a fucking pedophile. But if I hear Cat Scratch Fever, I'm like, fuck Ted Nugent, turn it off.
Hey, well,
Why?
yeah.
I'm questioning myself in this. Like, why am I that way?
And Catherine brought up Madonna, right? Saying Madonna can be mean. So does Madonna get a pass because she's a female? Like,
No.
I mean, again, I don't think that that's a thing. I don't think you can take that into consideration that, yeah.
No, I mean, and that's, and it's like, and there are so many other people. Who is the, I totally forget his name. It might be the beer. It's the beer. God, he drummed with everybody in the late 60s, early 70s. And then basically it turns out he was like kind of a psycho and like killed his mom. Somebody in the comments, Dan, this has got to be you. It's, oh gosh. Yeah. But it's like, he was someone who's a murderer, like killed his mom, but there was also like a lot of like mental health. Like he might've been, I think he was like schizophrenic or something too.
We should acknowledge that Chris from Stylus Meets Vinyl is here. Hey, Chris.
Chris, you got to join us, man. I've been trying to get Chris on a live stream forever.
Get that smile. Chris is always smiling.
Oh, he's in bed right now. All right.
Always smiling.
Gordon.
Chris, you and I got to do a podcast episode soon.
Jim Gordon.
Okay.
I mean, he died. Oh God, he died last year, actually, about a year ago.
In the end, there's a lot of pieces of shit that we like. I mean, I'm a Motley Crue fan, so there's Tommy Lee or anybody else in the band.
Look at Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin.
Yeah.
That's kind of gross.
Yeah, but it's so funny you mentioned that, Rob, because like we'll step that back and be like, well, it was a different time.
Yeah, but still 13-year-old cousin.
What's worse there, Rob?
The cousin or the age? Is that what
that might be legal where Sam lives. I don't know.
I mean, that's a Southwest Virginia special, they call it, man. You get that with the free chili dog on the side.
Yes, Chuck Berry's another good one too, because he had cameras in the women's washroom or something.
Well, Sam, I know. Well, Sam, okay. While Sam's here, not to throw him under any metaphorical bus, but Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, wasn't he whole ass dating or something to like? Wasn't she like 17 or something like that? I mean, like that's the thing. Is like, but we don't hold the same, moral standard to a lot of these people. Prince was the same way. Prince was inviting 14-year-olds on his bus. It's like, I don't know, but actually,
I just hate him because he tried to woo Susanna Hoffs. So fuck him.
Wait, who's Prince? Prince or Jerry?
Yeah.
Prince.
Dan brings up another one. Pete Townsend again. There's another guy. There's a bunch. There wasn't a lot of controversy early, I don't think, and then all of a sudden,
there he is.
There was a whole
FBA,
bunch. Of shit
what's
going
up,
on.
man?
Hey, good. How about you?
Hello.
Once again, outnumbered by the Canadians and French Canadians, because
Technically,
we got nothing to do up here, man. It's just too cold. So let's live stream.
It's freaking cold out here.
Yeah, but it always, here's the thing though, Canadians, it always seems like it is cold, much colder up there. We'll admit that. But when y'all are in Celsius, you say things like we're at -40, and then us Americans hear -40, and we're like, oh my God, that's like frostbite. And it's like, no, it's -40 Celsius. It's closer to like, -2 or 0.
Yeah.
Which is still fucking cold.
Still
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It warmed up to -20 today. It warmed up to -20. Oh,
it was -25 here today.
It's bullshit. We need Jay around. We need BC.
That's right.
We've got. I need some more Western here.
Well, we got it pretty well covered. We got Quebec, Ontario, and Saskatchewan.
Exactly. That's all you need.
Now, well, FBA, I mean, you're in, obviously you're in Quebec, but do you consider, I know maybe it's different for everybody, but I mean, do you consider Quebec, Canada, or are people from Quebec French?
Oh no, they are Canadian, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
There is a culture difference because people from Quebec they like to be. It's the French-speaking part, like to defend their culture, but they are not French from France. I'm French from France. I moved from France to.
Yeah, you're actually French, right?
I'm French from France. I grew up very close to the border with Germany, and so I know this situation because I used to work in Switzerland. It's a country with different speaking parts: German speaking part, Italian speaking part, French. So I know the challenge that those countries they have to deal with, like Belgium, for instance. Canada is a little bit different because it's like 8 million people, French Canadian. They struggle for their culture, but they are North American. They really are.
Yeah.
So there is a gap. So people, I feel like, no, I'm Quebecer first. No, I'm Canadian, but it's
Although there is a subset of people from Quebec that are would consider themselves Quebec before, because there is a
There-
separatist part of the population.
They Black Buquois, if you will.
Yeah. And there was a time frame too. Like,
Yes.
you know, you guys are all younger than me, but yeah, there was a time frame where it was a much more of an escalated thing. It still comes up a little bit, but you know what? I
It's
really
like-
haven't heard it. I haven't heard about the whole
No.
Quebec versus the rest of us thing for a long
Well-
time now, which is good.
Well, the
which is
last
great.
time was the Charlottetown Accord back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Well, and let me, as you know, me, somebody who's talking to 3 people in Canada from the States, let me tell you all some Canadian history here.
Thanks.
Is that I actually, maybe I told you, Rob, at some point, but I took 4 Canadian politics and Canadian history courses when I was in college, and I became like obsessed with Canadian history. And I remember like
I have a history degree hanging on the wall.
Canada had their own non-Germany like crystal knock, but in the sense of like Canada and Quebec in particular had their own Night of the Long Knives in regards to Quebec, and I think the God, I see him blanking. I've thought about this a while, but what do you call like the provincial governors? Are they premiers?
Premiers.
Yeah.
Premiers. Okay. The premier of Quebec, Levesque, I think.
Rene
This was in
Levesque, yeah.
in the
Ready?
80s, I believe,
Yeah.
went into this big time meeting and was under the understanding that everybody was going to vote for Quebecan independence. And basically everybody stabbed him in the back, and it became, this huge, thing. But gosh, man, I miss Canadian politics and history. That was a good time. Hold on. So Catherine's out in the Seattle too. Okay. The VC, basically the VC is Canada and then the Pacific Northwest. I've gotten that.
Yeah.
gotten
And
that
then
right.
where's Sam? Sam's in.
He's
where?
in Roanoke, Virginia.
He's in Southwest Virginia. That's right now.
There you go.
Oh yeah, a lot of.
Hey, did you guys hear his original the other day?
Yes.
He's
Very
been playing us his originals for a long time. I'm glad he posted them though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're good.
very good. Very
He's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. That's the
So-
thing, Sam. I tell everybody, I'm like, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Come find me. I don't care.
I don't tell
That's
people what city. I don't tell people what city I'm in, but there's certain videos you can watch and figure it out.
Okay, yeah, I mean, obviously Columbus is a big enough city that it's not like anybody's gonna have any idea. But my whole thing is this whole time I've been like, you want to steal my identity? Come and steal. I don't want to be me. You want to take my money? I ain't got none. Like shit.
Sam St. John's address is, and his social security number is 128744639.
You're welcome, Sam.
Oh, that's
We love you, Sam. I didn't realize it was a secret. I apologize.
He's like,
I'm sure there's 6 people watching, so
there's 17. Rob.
17. All right.
Double digits. No,
Well,
yeah.
Sam, I'll tell everybody I'm in Toronto.
Right. He's a Toronto, the greater Toronto area, right?
Yeah, which is a very large area.
How big of a city is Regina?
We are about 225,000 ish, something like that. So yeah. We'll call it 250,000 just because Saskatoon's a little bit bigger, actually. So
But second biggest in Saskatchewan, then?
we're the second biggest. Saskatoon is the biggest. We're the capital, though.
Oh, you're the capital. Okay.
Yep. So Yeah,
It's-
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it would have been the Dead South. Maybe. I'll. So you're in Columbus. You just said, right? So I'm going to see if that's a place they're going. Because if they're going there, you should see them. They're pretty good. They're kind of they're eclectic. We'll call them that. But I think you
Yeah.
would enjoy. I'm going to do a little googling. You talk amongst yourselves.
Chris, you got 50 centimeters. Holy smokes, man. We got about 10 and half of it's gone. A centimeter is less than an inch, Alex, just so you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm in the imperial system. Yeah, I know how much a centimeter is, sir. It's roughly what is it? 2.5 centimeters
Yeah.
is an inch.
Yeah.
All right. You know, we would look at that and be Trevor. It's 8 p.m. your time, but I also know you wake up at about 3 a.m. So we'll let you slide there.
Have a good one, Trevor.
Which is about 500 millimeters?
Yep.
Look at me go.
Look at you go. So Dead South is in Columbus, Ohio. It is their Chains and Stakes World Tour. Henry Wagons, is that a thing? Kemba Live? I'm not sure.
Yep.
Anyway,
Kemba Live. Yep, that would be the one. Yeah, Kemba Live is the venue. Yep.
They are there. Yeah. Where is it? Oh yeah, Monday, October 21st. So you've got time to decide.
Wow, they're in October. I guess so. Yeah. Well, no, I remember. I follow all the local clubs and stuff, and I remember seeing a band announce, and they're like, raining from Regina, and I was like, I know somebody from there.
I know where that is now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dan, yes, I have been to bigger. It's not New York. It's bigger.
Is that
That's what they have on their sign when you drive through. So
now, FBA, not to get personal with your address, but I forget. Are you in Montreal? Are you in Quebec City? Are you somewhere in between?
Montreal South Shore. So I have to cross a big bridge, and I'm in Montreal, which is on an island. So yeah, technically Montreal here.
Yep.
I got the wrong hat on. I should go get my Habs hat that's upstairs.
But Rob, I wonder. This might have come up before, but it's interesting that Habs fan, Blue Jays fan. So
Yes. That's very common.
Yeah, because in Canada we only have one baseball team.
Right.
So technically, when you're in Montreal, you are allowed to.
Yeah. You're not going to be an Expos fan.
There's a lot of Expos hats around still, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Those Vladdy Guerrero days. Yeah.
I need to get an Expos hat. No, it's pretty common for there to be Jays fans that do not like, because I'm not in Toronto, but I in relative proximity. I work in Toronto, so that's my passion. But
yeah,
I do not like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I never have. I've always been a Montreal Canadiens fan. I think because my grandparents were. I have very fond memories of watching Hockey Night in Canada at my grandparents' house. And we were always watching the Habs, which is the nickname for the Montreal Canadiens. For those that don't know what the hell the Habs means.
Now, can you educate us on about what a Hab is, or
it's short for habitant. Which means essentially it's a peasant farmer. When Quebec was settled, it was called Lower. It was basically New France, and then it was called Lower Canada, and originally. It was basically a modified version of the French feudal farming system. So what it was all farms set up along the St. Lawrence Seaway because that was how they transported goods. And they were very large parcels of land called seigneuries. And the guy that would own that land was called a seigneur. And they would take that land and they
different than a Spanish man.
No, it's English it's French for like
Lord.
Yeah. So they would take this huge parcel of land, and a habitant or farmer would get a very narrow piece of land, but it could be a mile long, but it would be very narrow, so they could all have river access. And the whole point was they would work that land, and a portion of what they worked off that land would go to the senior, and the rest they would keep to feed their family, and they could sell it in town and that kind of thing. So habitants are peasant farmers from 200 years ago, 150 years ago, and that's just the CH actually means club de hockey or hockey club, but because of the historical connection, everyone just calls them the Habs.
There
I
you
love
go,
that.
Alex.
I,
Now you
no,
know.
I love that. Well, and I've been. I think I was telling you, Rob. I've been to a game at the Bell Center. That was like
I've had this handsome face on the scoreboard of the Bell Center.
Oh,
well, and I was at in 2015. God, I can't believe that was almost 10 years ago now. I was at a conference that was in Montreal, and a buddy of mine were like, both hockey people, and we're like, dude, we'll never have this. We might not have this opportunity again. We got to go to a game at the Bell Center.
I'm gonna find the picture and I'll show you guys. It's hilarious.
And like, yeah, I mean, this is very American. Who's never truly traveled. Like the most cultural international experience I've had has been Montreal. But it is. I mean, interesting. I mean, you all know, and we were kind of alluding to it earlier, right? Of like, there's a French. I mean, the street signs are in French. Like the language, like people obviously they all speak both, but they will greet you in French. And then they'll be like, "Oh, this poor American." I mean, that was but just being at that game and having all the announcements and all the announcements that are coming over the PA was all in.
Can you guys see that?
I have to add it to the stage.
Add it to the stage, man.
Nice.
wow, really cool.
Wow, look
at that handsome fella on the screen there cheering like an idiot.
With the drums in front, huh?
Playing the bongos.
That was superimposed, but yeah.
But still, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful. When was that, Rob?
That was like 2012, something like that.
Have any of you been to a Las Vegas Golden Knights game in Las Vegas yet?
I want to.
No.
I am going to be in Las Vegas in 4 weeks, so I'm going to try and go.
Nice. I saw you two at the Sphere, and the night I got there, I made it in time to get to the game. It is the most Las Vegas hockey experience that you can have. In the end, it's still a very good hockey game, and they're good, and it was a good game. It was overtime. There was a shootout. There was a penalty shot, but it is some serious Vegas hockey going on there.
I hope they're going to be in town the week. I'm there for a trade show, so end of February. I hope I can go. I wanted to go see you too, and it's funny because my best friend is going to Vegas to see you too, and he actually leaves the day before I get there.
Yeah,
and of course, U2's not playing the 4 days that I'm there. They play the day before I get there, and they play the day after I leave. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Joe, how was that show, Joe?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I'm a U2 fan, and again, I used to work a lot and far too much, and I didn't take holidays, and I didn't travel. I went to a lot of shows. I've seen a lot of shows, but they were always local. And now with retirement, screw it. I'm going to stuff. So I went and decided, and I was going to go to the Sphere as soon as I heard about the Sphere, and it just happened to be U2 was the opener there. And so it was kind of a double bonus of awesomeness, if that's a word that I can use.
I got to ask a question since you've seen them. I mean, I've watched footage in that.
Yeah.
How are they without Larry Mullen Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, right?
Right.
But the guy that fills in is a fantastic drummer, and he just plays the drums. It's like I saw the Foo Fighters as well this last year, and Josh is an outstanding, great drummer. He's not Taylor. He's never going to be Taylor, and he doesn't ever try to be Taylor. He just plays the drums.
Right.
So that's all this guy did. This guy, and I can't remember his name, but it was different, and I would have loved to have had Larry there to finish it off. But no picture, no video does it justice till you're actually in there. It's unbelievable, and the other thing is that they didn't overutilize it. It wasn't always.
Well, and that was my fear because it is such a spectacle in and of itself. I wondered if that would detract from the actual musical experience.
Nope. Maybe, I was going to say maybe lesser bands it might, but there aren't going to be lesser bands in there, right? Like it's still U2 and they still command your attention, but there is so much going on. But it's not every song. There was maybe, if it was a 20 song set, there was probably 6 or 8 that utilized the whole full. And I keep doing this because it does that. Lots of times it was just them up on the screen, but they do it creatively. Right. And it was, like I said, it was never overpowering. It never took away from the performance, but it was sure nice. And I was in the very last row. Like it was me, and then it was the wheelchair accessible balcony behind me. And that's the place you want to be. So if you go.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's almost that's one of those venues, the further back you are, the better.
Yeah, I flew back on the plane with a guy, and he was, from me to you away, from Bono, and that's what he wanted to experience. He wanted to be close to the stage. I know what Bono and everybody else looks like. I didn't need that. I wanted that whole thing, and I
Right.
really, really got it. And the sound is perfect. Like it's perfect. It was never loud, but it was never soft. It was just really, really good. And the visuals that they put together, and the quality of the visuals, and even the stage. Like there were times where the whole thing was black and it was just the stage, but the stage is also a bit of a screen, and they
Right.
really utilized that. So yeah, it was like I said, no picture, no video you will see will not do it justice till you're actually in there. So
Cool.
yeah, it was great.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I'll go see Fish though, but I want to go back. I want to go see other bands in there, but I don't know if I'd go see Fish.
Yeah, I don't know that I would either.
I want to just highlight this comment really quickly. So this is my best friend Sean in the comments. We have this, formally announced it on the stream, not really, but we have this agreement that as soon as I surpassed 300 subs, that two things would happen. I would officially release my logo. So if you're sick and tired of that beer and vinyl random avatar picture of just like a record, cubicle or record cube, Sean's a not to completely out him here, but he's a designer and he's my best friend, and I was like, what about a logo, mon frere? so we're do you like that, FBA, the mon frere? But
I really like it, yeah. Thanks for putting fancy French words into the conversation. Really appreciate it.
I want to make sure you're engaged, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so we're finishing up that, and then
I thought you were gonna unveil it right now.
Yeah, I was ready.
Well, as you know, Rob, you just surpassed 1,000 over the last couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
But as you know, you hit 1,000 and you get that endorphin rush, right? You're like, 1,000. But then in the back of your mind, you also know you could go to sleep tonight and wake up with 998.
I was worried about that, but I jumped from 1,000 to 1,013.
Oh yeah,
overnight, and it went between 13 and 11 and 13 and 11 and 13 and 11 for a week, and then it went up to 14, and then I haven't grown in a week and a half.
Chris, I don't know if you're still here, but good night. I just wanted to say good night to Stylus.
Oh yeah. Well, and Rob, I was going to tell you, my sister who's in here sometime, she had subscribed to your channel and then said that once you hit 1010, 1,010, that she would unsubscribe. And so I was talking to her the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I forgot to unsubscribe from Rob's channel," and she goes, "Actually, I think I'm going to stay subscribed. He seems to be the only one to get my comedy." So
all right, well, I appreciate that.
That's good. That's good. I think we were here the night that you went over 1,000, right?
You were on this show.
Over. Yeah.
And we were on this show. It was due to me, really.
Well, yeah, we know that.
It was like we were having a pledge drive.
So the question: how does it feel, Rob? Just tell us.
It's kind of cool.
Let's take this moment here.
Oh Jesus, I need a spotlight now. It's kind of cool, right? I mean, it's as I've said before. I never did the YouTube thing to be a YouTuber. That's certainly not it. I just wanted to talk about records because no one else in my life gives a shit. And for me, it scratched a creative itch to make something. I enjoy the making of the videos, and I'm always trying to make them better and try to make them look halfway professional, and I'm not even close to that. But I like the editing and all the stuff that goes into it. And so to me, that 1,000 was always just kind of like just a mental milestone. I mean, I know that's the point at which people can monetize. I can't because I don't have enough view hours and whatever. I don't. At some point, maybe, who knows, but I don't really care. That's not. It's just like I was surprised that 100 people subscribed to my channel.
Yeah.
And then when it started getting out there, I'm like, man, it'd be cool to have 1,000 just because that 1K subscribers underneath your it just looks kind of cool, and it's just kind of neat to think that you've connected with enough people that want to listen to what you have to say. So it's neat, I guess is the best way to put it. And maybe that's an underwhelming response, but thanks to everybody that does though. That's I appreciate it. Keeps you motivated, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, it's to talk with like-minded people, and I related it to, I think, my wife. I can talk to you guys about this stuff, and I mention a specific album or a specific precedent, and your eyes don't glaze over and roll back in your head. It's like, oh shit, he's talking about that again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, he's talking about that again, or at least I hope that's the way.
But
But
the thing that I never anticipated is the vinyl community is a community. Now, there are certain, Alex and I have talked about this offline. There are certain, high school cliques and all that other horse shit. And there's people that I think are absolute fucking morons, but I don't voice those views publicly. But what I never anticipated is the connection you'd form with people that you've not. I mean, Alex is one of my best buddies, and I've never met the guy in person. Glenn Calloway, I think of the man like a grumpy old grandfather, even though he lives 2 hours away. I've never met him. These people that I talk to on a regular basis. I mean, Alex and Jason and Sam and Glenn and I have an ongoing chat that just runs all day, every day. And, we're talking to each other throughout the course of the entire day, every day. Yeah. And I love that. I love getting on talking with you guys. And on the rare occasions I get to meet someone in person, like Mike from MGK Boston or Chris from Styles Meets Vinyl that was on here. It's cool. I meet these people in person, and like MGK Boston, the first time I met him, he came to my house because his wife is from the town that we are in the same hometown. He came over to my house and we shot the shit for like 3 hours, sat out on the deck, hung out with me and my wife, and I felt like I'd known the guy forever and never thought that making YouTube videos that kind of thing would happen. It's awesome.
I think this is pretty normal because, we were all in our bubble. I'm speaking for myself, 14 years old, listen to the Beatles, like Outcasted. Now you have these things called internet. So you get to meet some virtually people and we share the same passion with. So in a way, it's pretty normal. It's a community. We talk to each other. We exchange. We laugh with each other. And it's great. It's really cool.
It is. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree.
I still look back at when I was down. I was thinking about this, like when I was down in Virginia, which it's like I met up with Sam. I had a work trip that took me to where Sam lives, and I was like, well, we're gonna meet up. This is gonna be great.
We can't say where that is because
we can't say. It was in Southwest Virginia, Rob, right. And or North Carolina, right?
Right, sure. Mount Airy.
But I was thinking, I was like, there was a part of me that was like, it was kind of laughing because like I was telling some of my other friends of like, oh yeah, like I met this guy on YouTube, and he's picking me up at the Marriott, and like we're gonna go get a calzone. Like
we're going shopping too, probably, right?
And they're like, Alex, like we think you've you've gone a little bit too far. And then just thinking of like how, and I know this wouldn't be the case with everybody, but like how immediately we clicked. Like I felt like when Sam and I were hanging out, it felt like we had known each other. Like it felt like we had gone to high school together. Like it was just so like surreal in that way. And I've said it a million times, but I'll say it a million more of like, that's the same way I would feel like hanging out with you, Rob, or you know what I mean? Like, that like it, I don't know. Like to me, it's like the proof is in the pudding. What a great cliche of like, that to me is all I want to get out of this. Like, this is fun and drinking the Hoopties. Cheers to Hoopty, trying to get a sponsorship. Shout out Hoopty. Is great. And like showing records is a ton of fun and we love that. But to me, it was like I was trying to enter in a community of people who cared about the same stuff I do. And it was just really cool to have that sort of experience and knowing I could have that experience with other people too. It's just awesome.
You see Homer in the comments mentioning trying to get tickets to Fish.
Yeah.
It's a bitch to get in there, but if you can do it now, I mean, we all have our dollar limit, but if you can do it, I would suggest, especially if Fish is your jam, they're probably going to do a nice job in there.
Now, I have no disrespect towards Fish. I've never really that is part of like a whole genre that I am, like the jam band sort of stuff. What I found interesting in my question, and Homer, if you're still here, I would love to hear your thoughts, or anybody who is familiar, is I feel like they've been one of these very interesting sort of studies of, we have Phish fans, and then we have fans that are like, I don't really like Phish.
I prefer beef or chicken.
But I fuck up, bro. I love Trey Anastasio, right? Like there's like this similar but disconnected, like I love X, but I don't know if I love Y or I love both. And because I've heard a lot of people who love Trey Anastasio that are like, I don't really care for Phish, but I love him.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who love both. But I don't know enough about them to have a comment one way or the other.
Yeah, I'll give you another example, similar. So, and when I talk about the concerts that I went to, again, it's only because you guys can appreciate it. And so it's not a, oh, I went to this and I went to that. But I went to Power Trip this last year and I got to see Tool. And I still am undecided on whether I enjoyed Tool or not, but I know I enjoyed Dana Carey playing the drums immensely. So I don't know if I took the whole thing, and just you mentioning maybe not the band, but someone within the band. So I wasn't a big fan of the overall, and I don't think they belong there. I don't think they belonged on that. And if I would have seen them by themselves, it might have been a different thing. But I enjoyed the hell out of Dana Carey playing the drums. So
insane. He's great.
So it's kind of same thing, right? Hey, Dave.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask FBA, are you into Tool?
Not really. Even Phish, I never heard. Never heard of the band.
That's a great point. Is the whole jam band thing? Now that I think about it, that feels very American in the sense of like, you go to the show, people are just tripping on acid and smoking a lot of weed and listening to like a 4-hour jam show. Like, I don't know if that's a purely American thing, but it feels American. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, I mean, there's raves that are similar. The music is different. You could probably find some jazz shows that would do the same thing. So, it's just, I guess, find some like-minded friends, smoke your weed and listen to Phish for a while, I guess. And you know what? Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it to my wife and she went too. They're pretty big. I don't know if I could name a whole bunch of songs by them, but they're pretty big. Well, I don't know if they have.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be a band that you would want to name. They're not a singles band, right?
No, exactly. Not at all. So, but all that said, I'm still not going to go see them at the Sphere, but I want to go back again.
That would be a weird bet. I would love to see a show at the Sphere. I don't know that would be the type of show I would want to see there, though.
There's,
who would you want to see at the Sphere?
Right. And I've had that discussion. So here, that's the next topic. Discuss.
Taylor should do a year residency at the Sphere. 365. Play every night. No, give us 2 shows a day, Taylor. Your 4-hour show is enough. Give us a matinee at like 3 p.m. and then give us another show at 9 every day.
You and me, Alex, would be going
every single day.
Fucking right.
And then Bryan Adams could do the intermission.
Right. Now, this is an important question. Ben & Jerry's they up there in Canada?
Yep.
Okay. Ice cream. I don't know that. I know I've seen Phish food, and I know what is it? Cherry Garcia. They've
Cherry
always
Garcia.
had cool. I forget what Phish food is though.
But you started to ask the question, Alex, and I've had this discussion with a couple of friends as well, is who would you like to see there, or like to see, or think could pull it off? Because I think that's a different thing. There's lots of bands I'd like to see there. How many bands? It depends on the residency too, right? U2 pulled off 30 nights. Phish is doing 4 nights. Because you got to fill, if you're going to do 30, you got to fill that place 18,000 strong 30 nights. And there's not a lot of bands that can maybe do that. And then do you put all of the money into a single show or a 2 show, right? Because it's going to be some production for that show. So who would you like to see, and who do you think would be able to be in there? And we don't have to do this now, but
Taylor could definitely do it. I mean, she's got the money; she could pack that thing 365 days a year.
But Taylor could do a 365 residency at the freaking football stadium.
Yep.
Yeah.
and make
And I would go every week.
and you would you would well, I mean, that's great. And Rob, you might have brought this up. You might have brought it up again when I was fixing the bladder issue. But with U2 and Joe, you saw them, right? Of like obviously the Sphere itself is a complete spectacle in terms of a venue. I mean, everything about it is like when I've seen these things about people flying over it and like the eyeball, like all that, it's crazy. So it would be such a spectacle, but then it was like, it felt weird seeing like U2 or whatever it is of like, oh, it's like 4 people on a stage, and it just doesn't feel like, I don't know. I'm probably doing a poor job of explaining the reservations behind it. Yeah, I don't know. I
think what you're trying to say is they've got to be pretty competent musicians to carry that off, because you're pretty naked on that stage.
Yeah,
yes, great point. Naked is a good way to put it.
And then
yes, there's this huge video thing, but there's just you. There's nothing else on that stage.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like the U2 stuff didn't necessarily go to the song. It's not like it was conceptual. There was some very cool stuff, but it wasn't that. So, could a Springsteen go in there and do 10 nights? And then what do you show up on the screen? Do you come up with some stuff or so like I say, there's artists that could certainly utilize it. There's artists that could utilize it more, the visual aspect. I talk with my hands too much. Use the visual aspect more than others. But Bruce could go in there and do 10 shows and probably, sell 18,000 for 10. But what are you going to show? Are you going to show Courtney Cox dancing in the dark up on the big screen? Like, what do you
that'd be okay.
I don't know that, I don't know, like the my understanding is that U2 was a huge hit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, in terms of this comment about being like a weak,
I think that's a personal opinion there.
Yeah. I mean, I think U2 gets a lot of.
They've sold it out every night, and they doubled the length of the residency.
I thought U2. Actually, I thought U2 was a great choice, because if you look back to Pop Mart and you look back to some of the other stuff they've done that already. Now the venue was built for them almost. So, but I'm not saying your opinion is wrong. I'm disagreeing with your opinion, Homer.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to this next point too, right? Like maybe a band that people aren't into, but Coldplay would totally pull that off. I mean, Coldplay is one of those bands that is, especially now, right? They've changed a lot over the years, but such a visual spectacle.
I'd totally be up for Spice Girls reunion there.
Yeah, I'd be in. But Elton, I don't know if we get him out of retirement or not. I think this time might be it. But could be not. But he could do it because he had a lot of visual stuff in his shows already. Anyway, he had a lot of things going on in the background. Billy Joel, again, same thing. He could certainly fill the venue, but would he utilize the venue? I think is the thing. Right?
Well, I think somebody like Lady Gaga or Beyonce, even though I hate the two of them, they could do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, Gaga, for sure. Yeah, and Beyonce. Yeah, you're right.
And I think that's kind of the point too of like, from the artist perspective, I especially think about like our aging artists, right? Whether it's Elton or Billy or U2, or, some of these more legacy type aging artists. There is not a better gig in the game. They don't have to travel. They play the same city every night. They're staying in the nicest of places. You know what I mean? Like that's not a tour. It's like, doing a residency in Vegas is not touring in terms of like what they're not waking up at 4 a.m. to get on a bus somewhere. And
I think an Oasis reunion at the Sphere would be pretty cool.
Ooh, that'd be good. Maybe Oasis and Blur together, and then at the end they fight.
Okay, so so I was a child of the 90s, so I was getting into music when What's the Story hit, and I have some Blur records too. I never understood that rivalry, even though I experienced it firsthand back in the day. You have one that is a pop band, and you have one that is a rock band. They share nothing in common. I don't understand where that rivalry came from.
Egos. I think that's all it came down to. Was egos.
Blur and Oasis.
Blur and Oasis, yeah. Probably the media, I guess.
Because it was always like the Brit pop rivalry. I'm like, but Oasis isn't.
Would you say not on the same level, but would you say it's similar? I mean, I think there are very few musical similarities between Beatles and Stones.
I mean,
not
it's
saying that
closer
they're
than
the
Blur
same.
and Oasis, though.
I think Beatles and Stone were friends. They were friends.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
they always tried to
sure.
play it up that they weren't,
Hmm.
but they always were, and they've admitted that more and more as
I mean, the
time went
Beatles
along.
wrote the first hit that the Stones ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was what was the ongoing joke, right? It was like the Beatles were who you wanted to take home to your parents, and the Stones were the ones you wouldn't want to tell your parents about, right? Like
Yeah.
that
Fair
was
enough.
there was a very yin and yang
Hmm.
Homer
stylistic.
brings up a good one with Paul McCartney. That would be a good show, and Paul, of course, could do it.
Oh, Paul would kill it there.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
great. Oh
that'd be very
God,
good.
that'd be a great show.
I think I'm in the minority. I love Paul, don't get me wrong. I don't know that I'd want to see him now because his voice is just shot.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's because the visual would make up for it, though.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I saw him 25 years ago, and it was, I'm not a religious person, but that was as close to as a religious experience as I will ever have. It blew my mind. But I see footage of him now, and I'm like, whatever.
You know, guys, what? He's 80?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hats off to him.
So you saw him back in what? Was that the last time you saw him, Rob, back in 2000 or so?
I think it was like 2001, maybe. It was the Back in the USA tour,
Cute name.
right?
Would you come down to what, Buffalo, or Back in USA was?
No,
played in
he played in Toronto.
on the Back in the USA tour.
Yep.
It was good. I don't know if it was that tour, but I understand where you're coming from with the religious experience. You know, I'm not a metal guy. I don't know if I would necessarily, but I enjoy my heavy stuff and my explosions and my pyro and stuff. But Paul is probably my favorite concert of all time. Just you knew every word to every song. It was done very well. It was just so good, so good.
Well, for me, the Beatles were everything, and they still are. I mean, that's what got me into music, and they're still gods in music as far as I'm concerned. And I'm too young to have seen the Beatles because they broke up in 70 and I was born in 78. So never happened. I've seen Ringo twice. I've seen Paul once. And Ringo's fine, but a little more of a novelty act, let's be honest.
Unfortunately, yeah.
He's still good. I mean,
Ringo's all
incredible
about
drummer.
his band, right? Yeah.
But Ringo's Ringo. You know, you go for Ringo and his band, not just
His
Ringo.
band,
Yeah.
But to see Paul, I mean, when the first song he did was All My Lovin', and I just closed my eyes, and his band plays it so well that it just sounded like it was the Beatles from 1964. And it was almost like an out of body thing that I'm experiencing this thing that I never thought I could ever experience because I'm too young to have experienced it back then. It was just, that's the closest I can to describe how impactful it was, but it was incredible.
No, you say it well. Yeah, you nailed it. It was so good. So good.
John,
The one thing I'd like to see about his show now is how he does the duet with John for I've Got a Feeling, which that would be incredible too.
John, I love Tom Waits, John, but I don't think that's his vetting. I mean, I think Tom Waits is a theater guy, probably. I don't think he's going to be selling out.
He couldn't fill that place, no way.
Yeah, I mean, I think a little more niche. And I said, no disrespect to him. I love Tom Waits. I just don't think that's his. He's more of a theater guy, probably, but he would do some fun stuff for sure. FBA, you got anything fun coming up on the channel, my man?
Not really. I've been really busy with the work lately. So I placed an order online. So maybe in a couple of weeks I
you
will
take advantage of that 40% off acoustic sound sale.
No. No, it's mainly used records, using a prog, folk, yeah.
Ooh,
But not that much. Not that. It's a very calm January. Yeah, it's not that easy.
Well, I mean, I know I said to you in a couple different ways, but now that you're here too, like I've gotten so much out of watching yours and other people's prog vinyl tags, which is like so funny. Of like, I consider myself a prog guy, but I watch your videos and I think it's close to 15 people who have jumped on that tag, and every single video, I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, who is this band? It's like people are pulling stuff out. They're like, this is a great prog band out of Ethiopia. They killed it in 72. I'm like, I'm taking all these notes. I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are. But yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, I had a chance. Well, I had a chance where? And it's not a chance. It's a fact. I grew up in France, very close to Germany. So yeah, I had a chance to travel a lot to England, to Italy. So I could gather very decent collection with those bands, obscure band from Belgium you have never heard of.
Yeah, and it's like that stuff never made it here. Probably not even
Yeah.
to Canada either. It just never made it to North America, right? It stayed in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, but here it's different. You know, when I got to see the tag from Sam, Americana tag, I know nothing about these bands because I know a little bit Eagles or Kansas or Grand Funk Railroad. A shout out to Steve from All the Way to Stage, but I'm not into more. It's not even obscure bands. It's band like country bands I have no idea of.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, and Rob obviously did a great iteration of that with his Canadiana bands. But it is kind of funny thinking from your perspective, probably FBA, of like a genre is called Americana. One would reasonably assume that just meant music from America, but it doesn't. It's like that's a whole other thing of like, oh
Yeah.
no, it's a very specific type of music from America.
It was just
Yeah.
a thing to call it, right?
Yeah, discover Gene Clark, for instance. Gene Clark, I absolutely love this guy.
No,
Um,
you have no
took-
other?
Took me years. Graham Parson lately, but yeah, Gene Clark took me years to get a hold of his copy with the Gosden Brothers, the album he
Oh,
made
yeah.
after he left on the Birds. With the Doug Diller, the banjo player, fantastic album, fantastic expedition. Called this album with a radio song, one of my all-time favorite. So I know, but I have to really expand my knowledge, and it's thanks to channels like Sam for instance, or Glenn, or many other.
Yeah.
Now I'm living in Canada. I'm very close to Vermont. Gotta go in Burlington, which is the capital of Vermont, and it's really cool because in that city there are a lot of
There
cool
is an incredible band from Burlington, Vermont, great rock band called Grace Potter and the Nocturnals. They've broken up. They're not around anymore. But I fucking
I
love
didn't know
them.
they were from Burlington.
You've shown them a
just
couple
outside
times.
of Burlington, Vermont. Yeah.
Okay.
They're incredible. They put out 5 albums. Grace Potter does some solo stuff now. It's not nearly as good. But Grace Potter and the Nocturnals, it's like 70s blues rock. It's amazing.
No, Sean, not the Coat Factory.
What's the Coat Factory?
Burlington Coat Factory. I assume is where we're going with that. Yeah, Sean?
Yes.
I'm so dumb and a little bit drunk, but I was like, great. I mean, what a name for a band, huh?
The Burlington Coat Factory.
The Burlington. Sean, what are you doing?
Live Friday night. Yeah, there you go.
Sponsored by Asti.
Yeah, they're really underground. Okay, yeah. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you being. Yeah, thanks for the jokes. Dan always thanks for the jokes, man. All that way. Well, and FBA, you might know. I mean, I've been told that the Montreal. I guess I don't know if it's your thing. I know big prog guy, obviously, but I've been told that like the Montreal metal scene, right? I think about like old bands like Voivod. Voivod is from Montreal. I mean, they're a huge metal, thrash, maybe a little bit progressive type approach, but I know a lot of people who like will take these like escapades to Montreal and see some of these bands in like basements of clubs. And
what you got to do, Joe's going to get this joke. Alex, you got to go to Montreal because you got to go see the Montreal Ballet. Joe knows what I'm talking
Best
about.
ballet in the world.
You betcha.
Everybody.
all right, somebody educate this educate this Yankee.
The best strippers are
The best strip
Montreal
clubs in the
strippers.
world are on St. Catherine
Damn
Street
it,
in
Rob,
Montreal.
why do all of our
Paris.
conversations go back to
Paris.
the strip clubs?
Yeah.
Yeah, the urban ballet, but yes, the Montreal Ballet is a thing of beauty.
Indeed.
Osheaga, FVA. Have you been to Osheaga?
Hochelaga,
Yeah,
the neighborhood in Montreal.
the festival actually. My daughter's been a couple of times, and she's a big
No.
fan of it. And I think it gets a pretty decent amount of variety there. But I wasn't. sure if you
I
maybe-
went to a couple of this festival, the jazz festival, which is pretty huge. How is the name? Alison Krauss. She with Robert Plant. Robert Plant.
Yeah.
They came last year. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of small festival in park and streets, so it's really interesting in the summertime, especially.
I thought it was very interesting the way that they did rock and roll, Allison and Robert, with where instead of guitars it was kind of the fiddle play in that.
Yep.
I don't know if they played it. I saw them in Ottawa, not in Montreal, but it was probably the same ish show.
Yeah, yeah. But it was a jazz, but it's really cool because you had the more modern artist and the pop artist was not only pure jazz, raw jazz,
Right.
and it's outside, so a lot of people. So the acoustic was not that good because it's on the street. But yeah, Montreal is very. You have a English-speaking part because it's not only French-speaking part. The western part of the island, those are people. They have Irish or Scottish ancestry. You are people from eastern part of Poland, for instance. And it kind of mix the ska with a folk from Balkany, and it's really interesting. The fusion, and like you said, Rob, on the you have a small clubs in the basement. Sometimes you get to see amazing concert almost for free. You just have to pay your beer.
Yep.
It's so much different from what I used to know in France. Yeah.
Have you been to the Grand Prix in Montreal?
Not yet. No, not a Grand Prix. Yeah,
I went in 2012. That was a bucket
Yeah.
list for me.
yeah. Too many people.
Yeah, that's where the city shuts down for the F1 race. It's crazy.
Yeah, just before when they had this party, when they closed the street, when you have all these cars on the
Yep.
sidewalks,
Yep.
and I saw Sam Roberts.
Nice.
He did a
I love
concert.
Sam Roberts. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Very
really
good.
loved it. Yeah.
This
This is
I was in Toronto, which I know is not specifically, Rob, where you are, but for the race a couple of years ago, and that was good. That was very good.
Yeah, it's the Indy race. I'm not an Indy fan. Formula One is just that's aside from baseball, that's my other thing. Huge F1 fan.
Dan is always asking the deep philosophical questions, and I know
This
it's
is
gonna
not
be
a
different.
philosophical conversation. This is the After Dark
This
show.
is the after. Well, so maybe we'll say
Brought to you by Asti.
What, Taylor and Susanna? No.
Oh no, that's called a wet dream.
Okay, sir, we're live. Joe, you okay over there, buddy? All right, good. All right, your dream concert or dream double bill. God,
I'm going with Taylor and Susanna Hoffs.
just Susanna, not the just her, right?
Just her and Taylor, and
Yeah.
preferably, just me.
Just you.
Nobody else.
You can pick your dream here, Rob.
Yeah, I just did.
I mean, well, I guess maybe a take on it, but who take like the Beatles out of the equation, because obviously that's probably a lot of people's choice. But that band that theoretically you're not going to be able to see anymore, or that artist that you can't see anymore. What's that answer for you?
my imaginary prog band. It's 1969. Paul McCartney with Rick Wakeman and Ginger Baker.
Wow. I
Here
mean,
you go. Here's one. These guys
Yeah.
and the Sex Pistols in the same show. The Sex Pistols opening up, and then these guys to finish off.
wow. Yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, well, yeah. That
I'm not sure that the Sex Pistols were that great live, to be honest. But man, that album.
I mean, they weren't that great on record either, but that album.
But that album, though, yeah.
But that
I mean,
that whole thing, it's more will than skill, right? I mean, that was always the attitude. The first thing comes to mind, I always think about this, right? I think about like people I love that died, and I will always kick myself for not seeing Bowie or seeing Rush. I had the opportunity when I was in maybe just outside of college to see Rush. That might have been I forget exactly what tour that was, but and the whole thing, there are so many bands that I said, I'll see them next year, or I'll see them next time they come around. And that's kind of like my attitude going into this year of like, so many of the bands and artists I love are not, they're in their 70s or 80s or, later. Like I never want to, there's nobody else that I want to sit there and think about like, oh yeah, I'll go see them next time.
Yeah, I'm not.
That would be cool.
I'm not doing that anymore, right? Because I used to do the same thing. I'll see him again. Chris Cornell played in town. Oh, I'll get a chance to see him again, right? No. Prince played in town. I'll get a chance to see him again. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just not going to do that anymore because either I'm not going to be around or they're not going to be around, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Gosh, I mean, Homer, God, could you imagine? I mean, for the Jazz Fusion, God, that would have been crazy. And one of my favorite things is looking back at some of these, like, you know, concert bills from like the late 60s and into the 70s of like, you would have these triple, sometimes quadruple bills that were like, I can't believe that these 3 or 4 bands were playing together. Like, unreal. Some of the, you know, or you get some of these old heads, no offense, Joe. No, I was kidding. But
That's
like, you know, some of these people who saw these shows and they're sitting there and they're like, oh yeah, like I saw so and so with support from so and so, and you're like,
yeah,
what?
I just want to see one of those so-and-sos, not all 3 of them.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't remember who it is. You'll have to ask Glenn, but he saw Hendrix open for somebody,
Yeah.
that's insane. And not a lot of people can say they saw Hendrix,
right?
but yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So I got a video coming out.
Ooh, yeah, what you got?
It's for Easter. It's spell Easter with record albums.
Oh, fuck off.
Just kidding.
What is it?
You know, I do
the
have
Christ
one
is
kinda
risen,
like that,
the
but it's
Christ is
not
risen theme, huh?
God damn.
Yes, ELO with a full orchestra. That would be outstanding.
Yeah, I mean,
I think ELO period, but
yeah, Rob's in his ELO era for sure.
I mean, I think the one everybody wants to see.
I gotta see.
we need to see Kid Rock with his full orchestra. is
and
what you're
Ted
saying.
Nugent
Ooh.
together on the same bill.
What do you got there, FBA?
This was last year during a Pink Floyd exhibition. They were this
Wow.
souvenir.
Damn.
Look at the band. They all play.
Jesus.
Yeah. Incredible.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back Festival 1970 in England. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I think if that Santana kid practices a little, he might be all right.
It might be something.
Yeah.
But John says the Hendrix open for Mamas and the Papas and the Monkeys. Who knows? I mean, that's I was, you know, I think it was Mazzy on his channel. This is a little bit jazzy, but Mazzy was talking about seeing later in his career Miles Davis opening up for whoever the Riders of the Purple Sage. Of like, what? I mean, you hear some of these of like, that feels like it should be reversed, but I as a younger person, I have to consider too of like the way that we view some of these artists today is very different than what their popularity and commercial viability was back in, you know, 1969, right? Like, you know, I think about a band like just because I got it recently, like a band like Big Star, right? Like Big Star with their #1 record and Radio City, you know, kind of blew up. But they blew up today in the sense of like they're a modern day, oh, let's go back to the early mid 70s and check out Big Star. But at the time, nobody knew who they were. I mean, that's why the records are worth $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they were probably
back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, they were probably opening up for the local, you know, the local theater band at the local VFW, like it, you know. So, but now we view them of like, oh my god, what we would do to go see Alex Chilton and Chris Bell and Big Star, right? Like,
Zach.
yeah. Sorry, Dan. Sorry about canceling your Ted Nugent subscription. I know you're probably bummed about that. You know, Sean, I saw this and I remember us having the conversation that the classic Kid Rock tune "Ba to da Ba" was part of your wife's wedding playlist that had to be played for her and her wedding party. Yeah, it's that is not lost upon me. Yeah, in the Big Star documentary, I forget what it used to be on, or maybe it still is. It was either Netflix or Amazon, something. But the Big Star documentary is outstanding. So yeah, Sean, don't say it was played at all of her friends' weddings. It was played at her wedding because her wedding was your wedding, and your wedding I was the best fucking man at, and I remember it playing there because I was about 400 White Claws deep and threw up all over my hotel room. All right now.
So you remember it fondly, then, do you?
Listen,
what
the
you-
Western Chicago will
Alex-
never be the same.
Alex, what you were saying is you were off to drink her away.
I was off to, I was off to drink her away. Yes, it was just, I mean, I was drinking somebody away. Yeah, I mean, that was it was what, 3 or 4 years before he died there, Mad King. Like he was the best. Hey, and I said it then, I'll say it now. If I'm the best man, why is he the one getting married? Right? That's always been my line. Yeah.
Alex, do you have Polish ancestry?
I do, yeah, I'm Polish. So
So
I
am
would
I.
say my dad's side is Polish.
Yeah.
This is where it gets a little bit complicated in terms of identity and sort of how we. This sounds very. I'm going to say something that is very millennial / Gen Z, so I apologize. But identity is one of those things because it's like, how do you identify with your identity? Whoa. Dad's side is all Polish, so my last name comes from Polish. Mom's side is German. But what's interesting is just based on how I was raised and the closer relationship that I have with my dad's side of the family and the lack of relationship I have with my mom's side of the family, I have a much stronger pull towards like the Polish side
Okay.
and don't really identify with like the German side. So yeah, but big Polak over here for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so am I. My grandfather came from Poland as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
from my
I grew up on the pierogi. Love it.
pierogi, vodka, and
I'm one of those people that I can say my identity would be Canadian because my family has been here for 210 years.
No way.
Yeah, we came here in like 1820,
From where though?
England.
I mean, and at that time, England and Canada were basically the same, right?
Yeah.
Like
I
who
mean,
burned down
obviously the natives were here first, but
well, sure, absolutely, as always. But okay, question for the 3 people who live in Canada: who burned down the White House? Canadians or the Brits?
the Brits. We
Joe?
like to take, we like to
Today
take
or
credit for it.
previously? Oh, wait.
Honestly, what was this? This was that War of 1812?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was not Canada. That was the Brits, huh?
It was the Brits.
It was. Didn't they try and blow it up? In fact, I think wasn't it? I don't know. You're the Canadian history expert,
Well,
Alex. What
well,
the
I
hell are you
remember
asking us for?
My professor was Canadian. Funny why he was so passionate about these things, and he just thought that was the greatest time. He just thought it was hilarious that the Canadians or Brits, were that lit the White House on fire in the War of 1812, and of course, we're a bunch of like 19-year-old Americans in college. Like, wait, what? Like, wait, who is this man? So, yeah, no, that was always a great time, and yeah.
Well, listen, fellas, it's getting on for midnight, and I got work in the morning. So,
All right, Rob.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
it's been fun,
All right,
guys.
that VA.
It's been a pleasure.
That's going to do it for me too, Alex. No offense, brother, but I think we're chatted out for this evening.
None taken, bro hams. Y'all have a good night. All right. And yeah, we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks
This
for
episode
having.
has
I
been
appreciate
sponsored
it.
by
Thanks
Aspen.
to everyone in the chat as well, Catherine and Dan and everybody, John. And yeah, thanks, guys.
Heck
Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
Y'all have a
Take
good night.
care. Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
Thanks, Alex. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, now that all the cool people are gone, yeah, I'm about to hang it up too. Appreciate those out there watching or joining, whatever it might be. But yeah, about midnight here. Gonna wrap it up. And yeah, thank you all for joining. And we'll see you soon. Might do something later this week or weekend. Saturday or Sunday. We'll see what it looks like. And yeah, cheers, y'all. Have a good one. And the Basement After Dark, we're out. Cheers, y'all.